deep water, look out. I'm going to take it as a sign that I need to get this message out today, because essentially this is the third time now I'm going to try and do this. So may the Lord have his way. So often when we grow up in the church especially, we can be desensitized to very important messages that are biblical. The best example of that is the cross, I would say. So, it's very easy with all the cares of this life and whatever to forget that we are only breathing the grace of God really because Jesus went to the most excruciating, terrible death on our behalf so that we could go free. And the gravity is lost with everyday life. You get caught up in what you need to do to make ends meet. Even when you, like I say, when you grow up in the church and you see the figurine of the cross, the Christ figure on the crucifix, and it's everywhere. And for some reason, the irony is that you're often desensitized to what actually happened there. It can be a symbol to remind you of what happened, but so often I think it does literally the exact opposite. You just go, oh, I'm in a church, rather than bring you to that place of contrite brokenness that we should all feel at some level on a daily basis, combined with the gratitude that Jesus did that on our behalf. And it's the same with many of his messages. So I would say that his message about how we as disciples must also love and bless and forgive even our enemy is lost within the cares of this life until it's actually happening to you, and then you're so challenged that many people can't even do it, right? Even if they say they love God, they struggle so hard with this, and it is a struggle, that's the point. But most of the time we're unaware of that struggle, especially if we've never had to go through it ourselves. And so I thought that this is an important message for us to be able to understand how we can do this and how Jesus did this. So he was very clear, Father, they don't know what they're doing. Have mercy on them, basically. We know that we fight not against flesh and blood. And really the best way, the only way probably, to really truly love your enemy, which when you actually think about it is crazy to many people in the world. Like, most people would love to exact their revenge on people they consider their enemies, because people who have been enemies against you have murdered your family, stolen things from you, persecuted your children, maybe even abused your children in other ways, heinous crimes we're talking about. Those enemies, we're talking about those enemies. Now, obviously, people who perpetrate such crimes deserve punishment by the judicial system, but we are called as disciples to love our enemies. What does that look like? So obviously, the Bible's very clear. Sometimes love is a very stern, solid standing on biblical truth, which is, if you really truly love someone, you'll openly rebuke them about whatever it is they're doing that's evil. That's biblical, right? A lot of people shy away from that because, it can get you into hot water, and that's exactly what we're talking about. You will make enemies when you start to do that. We've got to be careful not to be obnoxious at the same time, right? But, stand in gentle, spiritual authority, knowing what's behind their actions that they are manifesting, believer or non-believer. And this is the point. How do you actually love, bless, and forgive your enemy? You have to understand whether that person is Christian or not. Obviously, we're thinking of unbelievers most of the time, but they can be the Pharisees. They can be those who think that they're doing a service to God, but actually, when they kill you, all right, but actually they are manifesting the works of their true father, the devil, right? At that point, anybody can repent. And that's our mission as Christians, is to show the love of God with extreme forgiveness when it's unwarranted, when it is pure grace, because that can change hearts, as it changed mine and as it changed yours if you're a disciple of Christ, right? His love, he died for us while we were still sinners, remember? So the point I want to make is, when you understand that evil spirits, demons, unclean spirits, whatever you want to call them, nefarious beings, spiritual beings that are, very much part of this realm, but we can't see them, especially when they're manifesting through someone's flesh, you can only see the fruit of it. You can see that that person has agreed with those evil spirits and therefore is now doing evil things, right? Even against you as your enemy. When you understand that we are fighting not against flesh and blood, that everything is spiritual, including the actions of all people, and everything that comes out of their mouth, everything they do, is an agreement with the spirit behind whatever it is, the muse, the inspiration, the inspiration, that's where we get that word from. The temptations of the flesh have overcome them, perhaps. Maybe they want their revenge on you. Maybe they just want to persecute you because they hate Christ. And, the servants know better than the master. So there's no reason for them to hate him. There's no reason for them to hate us, just that they disagree with our doctrine or whatever. This is all encouraging in a way, as I mentioned in a previous video, but also it's the only way that you can actually forgive someone is to know that they are a victim. They are not in control. They might be in agreement, but they're not. They don't understand that they are literally manifesting Satan, like Peter did with Jesus, right? When he said, "You shall surely not go to the cross," and Jesus was like, "Get behind me, Satan." Believer or non-believer can do it, right? You can do it. I can do it. We can come into agreement with the darkness. And when we do that, we are manifesting things that need forgiveness, not just from God. Sometimes we hurt other people, other brethren even, and that needs restoration. And one of the ways that you restore these things, the blessing really, the way you can bless your enemy is to show grace and understand that the spiritual source behind why they did something was evil. And even though they were in agreement that you forgive them because they're a victim, but they need to understand that their manifestation was not good, it wasn't holy, and therefore we need to work on this. And if they're going to receive it, they're much more likely to receive it if they see the unmerited favor, the undeserved grace, really, that Jesus has shown us, and now we're reciprocating to the rest of the world, right? Or even to our enemies. And so that's the message. Hopefully that's encouraging to you. Always remember that such profound truths, and really this is another devastating thing Jesus said. I might even add it to that playlist, because to love your enemies, to forgive your enemies, to bless your enemies, that's devastating. If you have an enemy, if you've ever had someone who really wishes you and your family evil, like they hate you, they want you dead, they want to kick you in the teeth, they want to smash you around the head with an iron bar, they want to pulverize you into the dust until you're not breathing anymore, and they want to make that last as long as possible, that death process, like some people have in the past to do with, literal Iron Maidens and gallows and, all sorts of horrible death devices that people have been inspired to make, especially for Christians, right? Throw them to the lions and all of that. Gory, horrible deaths for everybody, including their families, Like I say, warning, deep waters. This is not child's play. This isn't just elementary. This is something that doesn't come naturally to human beings either. We always want to take the revenge, generally. We always think of number one and put ourselves first. And that will always play out in not loving our enemies and not loving or, blessing or forgiving our enemies, if we allow it to. But when we are disciples, obviously, we're trying to think spiritually the whole time. And this is the way you do it, is to know the spirits behind whatever is being perpetrated against you through other people. And how they manifest that That's why you judge people by their fruits. Who cares if they say they believe? If they're manifesting evil fruit, then you know the spirit behind it. And obviously it's easier to forgive someone when you know that they are a victim to that deception and temptation, but ultimately they will have to answer for it, and it's up to us as disciples to show them that, listen, we've all done it, even as believers we've done and said stupid, horrible, evil things that have hurt other people that need forgiveness, right? But you know, I'll forgive you, and hopefully you'll forgive them, and then we can all iron this out, and you know, the Lord will sort it all out in the end on Judgment Day. But that's how to truly love, bless, and forgive your enemies, is to understand they are not the ones in control. The enemies, they are not in control. They are puppets. They are being used by evil spirits, whether they say they're believers or if they're unbelievers, it doesn't matter. Satan can use all of us, like he did with Peter when he confronted Jesus about the cross and saying Jesus wouldn't go there, you know? Like when, you know, Satan jumped into Judas like a cheap suit and got him to go and sell the Lord for 30 shekels, you know? It's really, when Satan has real estate and we haven't overcome totally by the shedding of blood and the whole sanctification process, there's real estate Satan has in each of our souls. And he can still, in moments of weakness, even with a believer, use us against God and his ways. And that's a sobering, awful reality. Thank God there's an advocate in heaven who is faithful and just to forgive us when we confess our sins, right? But still, we sin accidentally, hopefully. You know, if you're willfully sinning, I mean, if you know you're sinning, I mean, no comment. But if you are just, you know, in the heat of a moment or something, and you're doing stupid, saying stupid and evil things, you also need forgiveness. You are also an enemy of someone in that moment, right? And I think the most important thing the church needs to get is this truth, you know, that all of us are battling not against the flesh and blood, but what dwells in the flesh. So God bless you and have a good day.